Hello everybody, thank you for tuning in. I just want to say thank you for all the support I've been getting on my videos recently. So today we're just going to be going over the blue gear that you should be wanting to aim for the Greatsword staff build. This doesn't necessarily mean this is 100% definitive, while there are circumstances that can easily change this. Alrighty, to start things off, let's just go through the weapons real quick. So I'm choosing the deadly single-edged two-handed sword, as the 8 dex and stun chance actually do play a really good factor into PvP and PvE content, as the lethal focus passive is just overall pretty good. Defeating an opponent just allows for the death blow cooldown to be 100%. I personally really like this greatsword. I used this on my first KR character and it performed very well. Now this one's situational. Originally when I first played, this wasn't necessarily in the game, but I do like the Abyssal Witch Staff, as it offers 7 wisdom, 5 strength, and mana cost efficiency. While you do have a little bit less range, it still is a pretty good staff overall. Granted, this is one of those ones where you could swap it out for different tiers of rares and epics. The ones you can substitute the Abyssal Witch Staff for would be the Elite Resistance Staff and the Destiny Warship Barbaric Staff. I really do like this staff as well because of that. Rotting Poison is actually a very good passive, as the staff doesn't really have anything to counter heals. So this is actually really good for an early build. If you're able to get the Talos staff early on, I'd recommend always using this staff. The passive on this is just too good not to have, and in my opinion this is easily one of the best staffs in the game regarding world bosses, and even some tier 2s aren't even that impressive compared to the Talos staff. So if you can get this early on, keep this and upgrade that. Cloaks are very interesting, as only 2 drop from dungeons, and that's the Gladiator Cloak and the Barbarian's Cloak. Good ones do not. You can either keep your green cloak for a longer period of time, as they are easier to come by, or if possible I would recommend getting the Archpriest Devotion, as this one is just overall really good. If you can get this cloak early on, this is one of the ones I would highly recommend. Another one would be the Hermit Shroud, as the evasions can be good if you go more of an invasion build for your setup, but that's mostly depends on you. But I would definitely recommend Archpriest Devotions, as this cloak is just overall a really good one, and the one I still use on my KR account. Most of the gear isn't going to be too impressive, but that's not what we're looking for, as we're just looking for skills that increase our HP, critical hit, and give us dex, strength, and perception. So regarding the Death Warrior Vision, this 700 extra HP and the 75 critical hit is actually very good for PvP content, and just allows you to do more damage, which also plays off some of our passive as well. Great Spirit's Grace Resistance Armor. I like this one, as this gives us a little bit of extra mana, which is something that we're going to be needing for this build overall, and gives us 4 strength, which is overall just a really good setup. All the gear I have will be having melee endurance, range endurance, and magic endurance. There is a nerf coming for these, but don't worry about it. That shouldn't affect anything too much. For my gauntlets, I'm using the Flying Dragon Scale Gloves. I like this one because we get a little bit of that 10% range increase and perception. So, and as you know, perception is very good because this increases your hit chance against evasion users, and just overall gives you better hit chance. While Deadly Barrier isn't necessarily the best pick, I do like the 3 strength, as it goes into our stats, and we want that damage reduction of 15. It does really help in PvP content. Regarding boots, what we're doing is distorted plates, as it does provide 4 strength and melee endurance. So a lot of our gear does have strength built into it, as I do believe strength and dex are highly important for PvP content, especially when tier 1, like in tier 1 dungeons, you're gonna want that 40 strength. It gives you that survivability that you'll need in general for PvE content and PvP content. Alrighty, for accessories, for the early quick level 50 blue gear, I would recommend going with Sophia's Strength set, as these are very easy to level up and easy to obtain. Mostly these are obtained from your codex, so they're not very hard. And they do apply decent buffs and nothing too impressive, but it's still something that I would recommend using on. You can replace these easily with other gear, but for an easy setup, I'd recommend going with this setup, because the critical hit is nice and you deal more damage when the opponent is 50% health and below. So the Fortune Ring, I really do like this ring, as it offers a good amount of attack speed and dex, which does really help with making the game feel smoother and quicker. and allows your casting spells to just come out a little bit quicker. So I'd recommend this ring as well. Regarding my Elite Retainer's belt, I really like this belt just for the melee defense. The melee evasion isn't necessarily that good. So what we're going into next is our skill upgrade priorities. In the setup that we're going for, what we're wanting to look at is what do we want to upgrade first and what do we would not want to spend our resources on. Let's start off with active skills. And in my personal opinion, Serial Firebomb is probably the best starter as it just offers just really good DPS. And it synergizes with the rest of the build anyways, so upgrading this first is not necessarily a bad thing at all. And in my opinion, the right step. Regarding Precision Dash, I wouldn't recommend leveling this as the effects aren't necessarily worth the resources early on, so I would avoid this one at all costs until later on in the game. And the same thing for Frost Smokescreen. I wouldn't recommend leveling this right away. Since Frost Smokescreen already has the 2-time charge, then there's no real point of upgrading this so early on. In my opinion, the next one you would be obtaining would be Infernal Wave. I would recommend leveling this up to at least Rare. And then for the next two, I would level up Death Blow, and then I would upgrade Stunning Blow to Rare. So these ones I would upgrade in this synergy order. Sending Slash, I wouldn't recommend leveling this up. This doesn't already do that much DPS. It's more used for the knockdown effect. Fireball Barrage, I would definitely keep level up Fireball Barrage, and I would level up Da Vinci's Courage. The reason why I'd level this one up is it just increases its damage, which we want because we're already applying burn stacks on our opponents. And then Da Vinci's Courage, we want this because it gives us more HP regen and just HP when we use the effect. So, good skill, and we definitely want that because the Greatsword staff does lack healing. And then High Focus. I'd recommend leveling these skills up first, and the reason why High Focus is just really good as it gives cooldown reduction, and if you do the skill expression, you can have hit evasion and other effects. PvE content and events, public events, I would recommend Iron Point as that AoE really does help. But in my personal opinion, I'm going to go with Mystic Shield as in longer PvE content, that block mana regen is just super nice, allowing you to survive longer in PvE content. So that's one I would recommend. For our passives, if I'm going in order, what I would recommend would be 100% Vital Force, as that skill is just overall really nice. The next one would be Mana Amp, as Mana Amp is just really good overall. Next one would be Flame Condension. The next one would be Robust Constitution, as we are looking for our HP to get really high early on, so that plays into the effect of Vital Force. The next skill is Forbidden Sanctuary, that's the one I would level up next. And then the rest would kind of go like this. And for Epic Gear, I would kind of keep this as the same role. So this is the setup that I would recommend going for, the leveling process, as in my opinion, these are probably the best for PvP and PvE content, especially with skill expression. If you're wanting to use Ice Spear, then I would recommend removing Fireball Barrage and just putting Ice Spear in there, as Ice Spear is still a really good skill. But yeah, these are the skills and how you would want to level them up in what specific order. I will have the build down below, so if you have any questions or concerns, just look at this build and you will be able to see the level progression. I am located on NA West, so if you guys are interested in joining my guild when the game releases in early access, just send me a message and I will gladly send you guys that Discord link. Thank you for watching and hope you guys have a good rest of your day.